Have you ever told yourself that tomorrow is going to be different, but when tomorrow finally comes, nothing really changes? And now it's worse because you believe that it would be different, and the distance between you and who you want to become feels impossibly far. Man, I know that feeling, waking up, just not really knowing where to start, stuck in the same old cycles and already feeling defeated. But everything began to change for me when I made one small shift and I stopped starting my mornings in chaos and ambiguity, and instead I started them with focus, structure, and clarity. And so in this video, I want to share with you how you can do the same. So to do that, we're going to go over the strategy, and a little bit later, we're going to go over the tactics of how you can actually apply this into your life. But the strategy is very simple. It's win the morning, win the day. You know, it basically comes down to two parts, right? We're trying to avoid any morning losses, and we're trying to generate some wins. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean by avoiding morning losses is don't do things that cause shame, regret, anxiety, and just cause you to really want to avoid responsibilities. Anything where you're kind of passing it on for later, it generates this negative momentum that's kind of like an anchor around your neck that just keeps you stuck and keeps you from moving forward towards your goals. And so for example, imagine you had a class at 10 o'clock, but you woke up at 10:15. And so you wake up and you say to yourself, man, what's the point of even getting ready? Might as well just scroll on my phone for a little bit. I'll watch some videos, maybe I'll play some video games, because what's the point of even going? And it creates this shame spiral that by the end of the day, you've accomplished nothing and you just feel even more defeated and weak. So we're trying to avoid doing things that make us feel weak, that steal our confidence and kind of take us away from the direction that we want to go for our goals. And instead, we want to generate some morning wins. So morning wins are things that just kind of move you closer to the person that you want to become. It's when you take a step closer to that goal and you're acting consistently with your character and values. And also it feels like a win. You know, it creates a positive momentum that kind of pushes you through your day, like wind in your sails. And so how do we actually do that? So in order for us to consistently generate wins in the morning, we're going to have to bring in some structure, or for lack of a better word, plan. Now, I know that maybe you're groaning right now, oh my goodness, like another discipline or structure or habits video. And believe me, I am not a disciplined person in my past, right? I love to procrastinate. I constantly put things off, really disorganized, and so discipline was not my middle name. But I've found so much freedom and confidence in adding a little bit of structure in the morning. I'm not talking about having the entire day mapped out and your Google Calendar is that beautiful time box, whatever. I'm just talking about a little bit of guardrails, a little plan early in the morning that, again, when you win that morning, that momentum takes you through the rest of the day. And so, I really like how Paul kind of talks about this when he's writing to the early Roman church. In Romans 12, chapter 2, he says something along the lines of, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the word that he uses that gets translated as renewing, the Greek word is anakinosis. So break that up into two words. So the prefix ana is just a prefix that tells something along the lines of an upward motion or repetition. And kinosis is this idea that's associated with it's new, it's fresh. Ancient Greeks would often use that word whenever they were talking about innovating. And so it's a really beautiful word picture. In order for us to transform, in order to finally change, we have to renew, which another way you could say that is renovate your mind by moving upward repeatedly and creating something new. So when you renovate something, you first have to tear out the old, the thing that's kind of getting in your way, that's making the entire space less valuable, and you bring in new materials and you repeatedly work those materials until the renovation is complete. And it's a totally different and totally better and totally innovative and fresh design. And so that's exactly what we're doing. If we want to finally change, we got to do what Paul is telling us and renovate our minds. And so let's get into the tactics here. How do we actually do that? So what I did to start is I just wanted to create some simple and actionable and achievable little tiny wins in the morning that, regardless of my circumstances that I woke up in, regardless if I woke up late, regardless if I had plenty of time to sleep in, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter if it's a busy day, a slow day, whatever, that I could do them and do them consistently. So the two things that I chose, I call them little momentum habits, is I drank, as soon as I woke up, I drank a bottle of water and I read some passages from Psalm 51. So why did I do that? So I wanted to invest in my health and in my faith, right? Two of the things that I'm really trying to invest in and change. You know, by hydrating my body early in the morning, that's a little win for my health. And by reading Psalm 51, which I have like a really big resonance with, you know, it's the psalm that David wrote after he committed adultery with Bathsheba. And it's him rededicating his heart to God. And it talks about, you know, creating in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. And so for me, that just kind of laser focuses in my day about what is it that I'm supposed to do. Hey, I'm trying to be healthier and I'm trying to be closer to God. And so finding those things is really helpful. And I would encourage you to keep them as simple as possible. You know, I only chose two, and you might be wondering, why only two? Like, it doesn't seem like that's going to make that big of a difference. And I'll tell you why by through an illustration from my past from high school. So my buddy Logan, you know, really in shape, really muscular swimmer on the varsity team. You know, he invited me to come to the gym with him. And, you know, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not exactly a gym guy. And when I go in there, you know, he's able to lift all this weight, and he's just way further ahead of me than you know, he's just so much farther ahead in his fitness journey than I am. And I just felt just really just low and anxious. And so what I did is I just went super hard and intense, and I worked out, and I gave it my all and lifted weights that were way too heavy for me and looked like an idiot. But that next day, what happened is I was so sore. My biceps were so sore that I literally walked around like a little praying mantis the entire day because it hurt to physically move my arm down. And what happened was I didn't stick consistently with that gym habit because I just went at it too hard. It was too difficult. Man, I don't want to put myself through that again. That was so tough. And I gave up and I didn't become a habit. And that's what I'm sure that if you struggled with kind of changing before that story resonated with you, and whenever I've wanted to change in the past, I just go at it way too hard, change way too quickly, lift way too many weights. And I have to understand that while I might want to be at level 10, right now I'm at level 1, and that's okay. And I have to put my ego aside and say, hey, even though I feel kind of ashamed that I'm not yet to the place where I want to be, I'm not quite yet at level 10, I need to humble myself and not despise that small beginning of starting at level 1, because what happens with these morning wins, they stack. And you begin to generate momentum, and you find that if you're consistent in the small things, you become what you consistently do. And so that is just kind of a caveat to keep it simple and keep it achievable, that you can immediately do it as soon as your feet hit the floor in the morning. And the other part of this is we're going to track those momentum habits. So what this looked like for me is, again, I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. I'm trying to avoid the praying mantis bicep shenanigans that I'm prone to doing. So I just got a simple piece of graph paper, and I wrote down the momentum habit, and I wrote down the dates, 1 through 7, just for like 1 week. And then at the bottom of the kind of the section there, I wrote tracked all momentum habits. And so whenever I woke up in the morning, drank my water, read my Bible, check. Hey, I tracked all my momentum habits because I'm trying to get into the habit of tracking this, because I know that if I can consistently do it, things are going to change. And so the other thing I really liked about having that physical piece of paper is that when I went to bed at night, I saw it and remembered, hey, in the morning, I'm going to do those two things. And I immediately remember, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. When I wake up, I get out of bed, I see that graph paper reminding me, hey, it's time to renovate your mind, tear out the old, and begin starting to building your foundation by doing these little momentum habits. And I'd really recommend that you don't use your phone to track these things, because your phone is a little distraction, machine. It's just filled with notifications. And when you start your day off and you're looking at those things, you can easily get sucked in. And so I just recommend keeping it simple, a physical paper that's dedicated only to that. So that way, when you see it, you're associating, hey, momentum habits, you got to do them. So in order to help get you started, we created a little, resource down below in the description box. Feel free to use that. I think that it's helpful, and it kind of goes into that next point where we're starting small, but we're building on it and we're stacking wins. So after that first week went by, you'll see in that little document that week 2 has 4 rows for momentum habits. And what I did after I was consistent for 7 straight days, I'm like, hey, this is good. I had a little reward for myself. I went to Cane's and got myself a 3-finger combo. If you know me, I love Cane's. But I can't have it because I'm as much because I'm trying to be a little bit healthier. But again, because I, checked all the boxes, literally and metaphorically, I rewarded myself for it. And that next week, I'm like, okay, I've proved that I have passed level 1 on to level 2. So I have 4 momentum habits. And so I chose clean for 5 minutes and track 1 item in MyFitnessPal. And so this is this is a topic I want to get into in my next or couple of videos or so. The thing I learned from my week 2 habits of how when you just kind of start small in something, like when I started cleaning for 5 minutes and the timer went off, I just kind of kept I'm already kind of in the middle of this, so I might as well just kind of keep going. Same thing for me tracking my food in MyFitnessPal. The only thing was just track 1 item. But what happens is once I'm already there, it's like, well, hey, I might as well just track the meal. I already tracked one part of it. Might as well just track the rest of it. And then by breakfast, by the time lunch comes around, it's like, well, I tracked my breakfast, so I might as well just track lunch. And so again, that's that idea of when I win the morning, I win the day. So I don't need structure throughout my entire day. In order to start out, I just really need it in that morning. And you find yourself just kind of being able to incrementally build. The word structure, literally in Latin, the origin of that word means to build up. And so again, we're building up on the foundation of those habits. And as the weeks go by, you can add a little bit more and a little bit more until you get to where you want to be. And I hope that that document is helpful for you. You can just use any piece of paper. You don't have to use that one. It's by any means, just whatever you do, just be consistent and just continuously give that morning, that momentum by generating those small wins so that you can win your morning, so that you can win your day. And so to close out, I just want to encourage us both by just praying over the both of us. And so, Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you so much for my friend on the other side of the screen, that they want to improve and they want to renovate their mind and become the person that you've called them to be. I pray that you would build up in us the courage to start, to face what we've wanted to avoid, the strength to do it right, and the faith to not lose hope and to not give up. All right, with that, friends, good luck and God bless.